Commander HFY clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he watched the human delegation enter the arena.
The massive crystalline dome stretched above them, its walls designed to contain the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Today, it would serve as humanity's final testing ground. The human ambassador, Dr. Sarah Chen, walked with calm confidence across the polished floor. Her small frame seemed almost comical next to the towering alien representatives surrounding the arena's perimeter. HFY's species, the Korthak, stood nearly 3 meters tall, their chitinous armor gleaming under the arena's harsh lighting. Around them, other species watched with varying degrees of interest and disdain. "The rules are simple," HFY announced, his voice carrying through the arena's acoustic systems. "Each species has demonstrated their worthiness to join the Galactic Council by facing their deadliest predator. You humans claim to be apex predators on your world, yet you appear so fragile." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled aliens. The Vorthak delegation, massive bear-like creatures with metallic claws, rumbled their approval. The ethereal Qilin floated in their energy fields, their translucent forms shimmering with what could only be described as amusement. Sarah stepped forward, her hands clasped behind her back. "We understand the tradition, Commander. We're prepared to face whatever challenge you present." HFY's compound eyes glittered. "Excellent. Each species has faced the apex predator from their homeworld. The Vorthak faced the Iron Bears of Vorth Prime. The Qilin faced the Void Wraiths of the Outer Dimensions. My own people faced the Bone Crushers of Korthak 7. He paused dramatically. "What makes this interesting is that we've captured examples of these creatures. They now serve as our ultimate test for new species." The arena floor began to shift and change. Sections of the crystalline surface became transparent, revealing holding chambers beneath. In one chamber, a massive creature resembling a cross between a tiger and a rhinoceros paced restlessly. Its hide was covered in natural armor plating, and each of its 6 legs ended in claws that could shred through steel. "The Bone Crusher," HFY explained with obvious pride. "It took our greatest warriors to subdue even one. Its hide can deflect plasma weapons, and its claws can cut through our strongest alloys." Another chamber revealed a bear-like creature the size of a small building. Its fur was actually metallic fibers that sparked with electrical energy. When it moved, the chamber's reinforced walls groaned under the strain. "The Iron Bear of Vorth Prime," the Vorthak delegate growled. "It feeds on metal and grows stronger with each meal. Its electrical discharge can power a small city or fry a starship's systems." The third chamber held something that seemed to exist partially in another dimension. The Void Wraith phased in and out of visibility, its form constantly shifting between solid matter and pure energy. When it moved, reality itself seemed to bend around it. The Void Wraith, the Qilin representative, communicated telepathically to all present. "It exists between dimensions and feeds on psychic energy. It can phase through any physical barrier and drain the life force from its prey." Sarah examined each creature carefully, showing no signs of fear or concern. "Impressive specimens. I can see why they would test the mettle of any species. Now," HFY continued, "we will release all 3 creatures simultaneously. If you can survive for 10 minutes in the arena with them, humanity will be granted a seat on the council. If not..." He left the implication hanging. "That seems reasonable," Sarah replied. "However, I have a question about the rules." "Speak." "You mentioned that each species faced their deadliest predator. Does that mean we're allowed to bring our deadliest predator as well?" HFY's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. "Human, you are supposed to be your species' apex predator. That's the entire point of this test." Sarah smiled, and something in that expression made several of the alien observers step back unconsciously. It wasn't a cruel smile or a threatening one, but there was something predatory about it that set off instinctive warning signals in creatures that had survived millennia of evolution. "Commander, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans aren't the apex predator of Earth." The arena fell silent. Even the creatures in the holding chambers seemed to pause in their pacing. HFY's compound eyes focused intently on the small human. "Explain." "You see, we humans have always been prey animals. We're persistence hunters, yes, but we're not built for direct confrontation with true predators. We're too small, too weak, too slow. Our teeth and claws are pathetic compared to real predators. Sarah began walking slowly around the arena's center, her voice carrying clearly to every observer. But, we did something that no other species in the galaxy has ever managed.
We didn't just survive alongside our planet's apex predators, we recruited them.
We formed partnerships with creatures that could kill us without effort. We turned predators into allies, and some of the most dangerous ones became our most loyal companions. She reached into a small device at her belt, a quantum storage unit that the aliens had assumed contained her species' primitive weapons. Instead, she withdrew what looked like a simple leather collar and a small metal whistle.
Commander HFY, allow me to introduce you to humanity's deadliest predator. Not us, but our partners.
Sarah placed the whistle to her lips and blew. No sound emerged that the aliens could hear, but something had definitely been transmitted.
She then placed the collar on the arena floor and pressed a button on its surface.
The collar projected a holographic beacon into the air, and Sarah spoke a single word, "Rex, come." The quantum storage unit began to hum, and a shimmering portal opened in the air above it.
What emerged made every alien in the arena take an involuntary step backward.
The creature that materialized was unlike anything they had ever seen. It stood nearly 2 meters tall at the shoulder, with a body built for both power and speed. Its muscles rippled beneath a coat of dark fur, and its head was massive, filled with teeth designed for crushing bone. But it wasn't the creature's size that struck fear into the watching aliens, it was its eyes. Those eyes held intelligence. Not the simple cunning of a predator, but genuine intelligence. They assessed the arena, cataloged the threats, and then fixed on Sarah with unmistakable loyalty and affection.
This is Rex, Sarah said, reaching up to scratch behind the creature's ears. He's a Canis lupus familiaris, what we call a German shepherd, though he's been genetically enhanced for space operations.
He's trained in zero-gravity combat, can survive in vacuum for short periods, and his bite force is approximately 1,500 pounds per square inch.
Rex sat beside Sarah, his tail wagging slightly, but his eyes never left the alien observers.
Despite his relaxed posture, every line of his body suggested coiled violence ready to be unleashed.
But Rex isn't alone, Sarah continued.
The portal hummed again, and another creature emerged. This one was smaller, more compact, with striped fur and the fluid grace of a born killer. It landed silently on the arena floor and immediately began circling the perimeter, its green eyes taking in everything. Luna, a Felis catus, an earth cat, also enhanced. She's our reconnaissance specialist. Her reaction time is approximately 6 times faster than human normal, she can see in near total darkness, and her claws can cut through most standard armor alloys. Luna completed her circuit and leaped gracefully onto Rex's back, where she settled into a comfortable crouch, still scanning for threats.
Together, they represent over 30,000 years of evolution alongside humanity. They don't just fight for us, they think with us, plan with us, adapt with us. Where we are weak, they are strong. Where they lack reach, we provide tools and strategy. The portal shimmered once more, and Sarah smiled wider. But I haven't introduced you to our true secret weapon yet. What emerged next defied all logic and expectation. It was massive, easily dwarfing even the iron bear in the holding chamber below. Its hide was thick and gray, marked with scars from countless battles. Tusks jutted from its massive head, and its trunk swayed as it took in the sense of the arena. Meet Hannibal, Sarah announced.
Elephas maximus, an Asian elephant, enhanced for space warfare. His hide can withstand direct plasma strikes, he can lift over 6 tons with his trunk alone, and his tactical intelligence rivals that of most species' military commanders. Hannibal's trunk reached down and gently touched Sarah's shoulder. She patted it affectionately, then turned back to the stunned alien audience. Humans didn't become the apex predator of Earth by being the strongest or the fastest or the most dangerous. We became apex predators by convincing the strongest, fastest, and most dangerous creatures to fight alongside us. We didn't conquer our world's predators, we befriended them. Commander HFY found his voice after several long moments. This is unprecedented. The test was designed for individual species, not partnerships. Then, perhaps the test needs to be redesigned, Sarah replied calmly. Because this is what humanity brings to the galaxy. Not just our own capabilities, but our ability to form bonds with other species, to find common ground, to turn enemies into allies. The holding chambers below began to cycle open.
The three alien apex predators emerged onto the arena floor, their hunting instincts immediately focusing on the potential prey before them. The Bone Crusher roared, a sound that shook the arena's crystalline walls. The Iron Bear stood on its hind legs, electricity crackling across its metallic fur. The Void Wraith phased into full reality, its psychic presence pressing against the minds of everyone in the arena. Rex stood and shook himself, his enhanced muscles rippling. Luna's pupils dilated as her enhanced reflexes kicked into overdrive. Hannibal trumpeted once, not in fear, but in challenge. 10 minutes, Sarah called up to Commander XI. Though I think we might not need that long. She reached into her collar and activated her communication system. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of countless generations of humans who had stood beside their animal partners against impossible odds. All right, team. Let's show them how Earth's apex predators really work. The three alien creatures charged across the arena floor, confident in their proven deadliness. But, as they closed the distance, something unprecedented in galactic history was about to unfold, not a battle between individual apex predators, but a demonstration of the most powerful force in the universe, the bond between species that had chosen to stand together. The arena held its collective breath as two very different concepts of apex predator prepared to meet in the center of the crystalline dome. In one corner, three creatures that had ruled their worlds through individual strength and ferocity. In the other, a partnership that had been forged in the fires of evolution and tempered by 30 millennia of shared struggle. The timer began counting down from 10 minutes, but everyone present suspected that this confrontation would be decided much sooner than that. The Bone Crusher reached them first, its 6 massive legs propelling its armored bulk across the arena floor with terrifying speed. Its claws, each as long as a human forearm, gleamed in the arena's lighting as it prepared to disembowel what it saw as easy prey. But Rex was no ordinary Earth dog, and he had been trained for exactly this type of encounter. As the alien predator bore down on them, Sarah pointed to the creature's left flank and spoke a single word, flank. Rex exploded into motion with a speed that caught even the enhanced alien predators off guard. His trajectory wasn't a direct charge but a calculated arc that took him around the Bone Crusher's primary line of attack. The alien creature's claws raked empty air as Rex slammed into its side, his enhanced jaws clamping down on the joint where the creature's middle leg connected to its body. The Bone Crusher's roar of rage turned to one of pain as Rex's bite force, amplified by his genetic modifications, found the weak point in its natural armor. The creature spun, trying to dislodge its attacker, but Rex had been trained to hold position against creatures many times his size. His grip was unbreakable. Meanwhile, Luna had vanished. The watching aliens blinked in confusion, trying to track the small feline predator, but she had activated her enhanced stealth modifications. Her fur had shifted to match the arena's crystalline floor perfectly, and her movements were so fluid and silent that even the most advanced sensors struggled to follow her. The Iron Bear, seeing its companion under attack, charged toward Rex with electromagnetic energy crackling across its massive frame. Each step sent sparks flying from the arena floor, and the air around it hummed with dangerous voltage. Sarah raised her hand, and Hannibal responded immediately. The massive elephant moved with surprising grace for his size, positioning himself directly in the Iron Bear's path. When the two titanic creatures collided, the impact sent shockwaves through the arena that cracked several observation windows. But Hannibal had not simply relied on brute force. Sarah had spent years training him in tactical combat, and he knew how to use leverage and momentum against opponents. As the Iron Bear's electrical discharge hit him, his modified hide absorbed most of the energy while his trunk wrapped around the alien creature's neck. Electricity flows through the path of least resistance, Sarah called out to the watching aliens, her voice carrying clearly despite the chaos. Hannibal's hide is designed to channel electrical attacks harmlessly to ground. Your Iron Bear just gave him a free power boost. Indeed, Hannibal's enhancements included bioelectric storage cells. The Iron Bear's attack had actually charged them, giving the elephant access to enhanced strength and reflexes for the next several minutes. The Void Wraith, seeing its physical companions struggling, decided to use its dimensional phasing abilities. It flickered out of normal reality and attempted to materialize inside Sarah's position, intending to drain her life force directly. This was exactly what Sarah had been waiting for. Now, Luna, she whispered. The small cat materialized directly behind the Void Wraith as it phased back into reality. But Luna wasn't entirely in normal spacetime either. Her enhancements included limited quantum coherence adjustments that allowed her to partially exist in the same dimensional space as the Void Wraith.
Her claws, modified with quantum edge technology, sliced through the creature's energy form with surgical precision. The Void Wraith's psychic scream of shock and pain reverberated through the minds of every being in the arena.
Quantum entanglement, Sarah explained calmly as Luna continued her impossibly fast attack pattern around the disoriented Wraith. Luna can briefly exist in the same dimensional phase as your Void Wraith.
And her claws can cut through energy as easily as matter.
The three alien apex predators found themselves in a situation they had never encountered before.
They were accustomed to facing individual opponents, prey animals that fought with desperation, or rival predators that fought with instinct and rage. But they had never faced coordinated tactical intelligence. Rex released his hold on the bone crusher's leg and immediately shifted to a new target as the creature stumbled. Instead of going for another limb, he leaped onto the creature's back and bit down on the base of its neck, where Sarah's briefings had identified a nerve cluster.
The bone crusher's rear legs immediately went limp.
Hannibal, now supercharged with bioelectric energy, lifted the iron bear completely off the ground with his trunk and slammed it down onto the arena floor. But, rather than following up with brute force, he stepped back and trumpeted a specific pattern, a warning call that Rex and Luna immediately recognized. Both smaller predators disengaged from their targets and moved to flanking positions around the three alien creatures, who were now clustered together in the center of the arena, wounded and confused. "You see," Sarah said, walking calmly toward the center of the arena as her companions maintained their positions, "the difference between human apex predators and yours is that yours evolved to dominate through individual strength.
Ours evolved to dominate through cooperation."
She stopped just outside the ring of alien predators and pulled out a small device, a sonic projector that she aimed at each creature in turn.
Rex, Luna, and Hannibal aren't just trained to fight. They're trained to analyze, to adapt, and to communicate.
Every sound they've made, every movement they've performed, has been sharing tactical information. The sonic projector emitted a series of tones that were clearly some form of complex communication.
Rex tilted his head, listening, then moved to a new position. Luna's tail twitched in acknowledgement as she shifted to cover a different angle. Hannibal's trunk swayed as he repositioned himself to block the most likely escape route.
The bone crusher's armor is thick, but it has weak points at the joints and nerve clusters.
Luna identified 17 vulnerable spots in the first 30 seconds of combat.
The Iron Bear's electrical attacks follow predictable patterns based on its emotional state. Rex has been tracking its biorhythms and can predict its next discharge with 97% accuracy.
The Void Wraith's dimensional phasing creates quantum signatures that Luna can track even when it's partially out of phase.
The alien observers watched in stunned silence as Sarah's companions began their final coordinated assault. It wasn't brutal or savage like the attacks they were accustomed to seeing from apex predators. Instead, it was precise, calculated, and overwhelmingly effective. Rex darted in and out, each attack targeting a specific nerve cluster or joint that would disable rather than kill. Luna phased partially out of reality to attack the Void Wraith from impossible angles, her quantum claws severing the creature's connection to its dimensional anchor points. Hannibal used his enhanced strength not to crush his opponents, but to control their positioning and limit their options.
Within 3 minutes, all three alien apex predators were incapacitated but alive.
They lay on the arena floor, not dead or even seriously injured, but completely unable to continue fighting.
"You see the difference?" Sarah asked, looking up at Commander HFY and the other alien observers. "Your apex predators fight to kill or be killed. Ours fight to neutralize threats while preserving life whenever possible."
She walked over to Rex and scratched behind his ears. The massive dog's tail wagged, and he nuzzled against her hand despite still being in full combat readiness. Luna leaped from her position and rubbed against Sarah's legs, purring in a way that somehow managed to be both affectionate and threatening. Hannibal's trunk gently touched Sarah's shoulder in a gesture of both protection and companionship. "But this demonstration isn't really about combat effectiveness," Sarah continued, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent arena.
"It's about philosophy. Your species each developed their own individual strengths and, then, sought to prove their dominance over others. Humanity developed the ability to form genuine partnerships with other species, to find common ground and share goals even with creatures that could easily kill us." She gestured to her companions. "Rex, Luna, and Hannibal don't fight for us out of fear or domination. They fight alongside us because over thousands of generations, we've proven to each other that we're stronger together than apart. They trust us with their lives, and we trust them with ours. Commander Zexhai found his voice after several long moments.
The test was supposed to be about survival against apex predators. You've turned it into something else entirely.
Have I? Sarah asked. Or have I simply redefined what apex predator means?
Individual strength is impressive, but it's limited.
Cooperative intelligence is scalable. What you're seeing here isn't just 3 enhanced Earth animals and a human.
You're seeing the result of an evolutionary partnership that began over 30,000 years ago and has been refined through countless generations of shared experience.
She walked over to the 3 incapacitated alien predators.
Rex, Luna, and Hannibal followed, maintaining protective formations around her but showing no hostility toward the defeated creatures. And now, Sarah said, kneeling beside the bone crusher, let me show you the most important aspect of humanity's approach to apex predation. She began checking the creature's wounds, her movements careful and professional. Rex moved to support the bone crusher's head, providing comfort rather than further intimidation. Luna approached the Void Wraith and began grooming a section of its energy form that had been disrupted during their fight. Somehow her tongue could interact with its dimensional matrix in a way that promoted healing. Hannibal gently lifted the Iron Bear into a more comfortable position and used his trunk to check for serious injuries.
We don't just defeat our opponents, Sarah explained as she worked. We heal them. We integrate them. We find ways to turn enemies into allies, predators into partners.
The alien observers watched in amazement as Sarah's team worked to care for the very creatures they had just defeated. It was unprecedented in galactic history, apex predators showing mercy and compassion to those they had conquered.
This, Sarah said, looking up at the assembled aliens, is what humanity offers the galaxy.
Not just our individual capabilities, but our ability to forge bonds across species lines, to find common ground even with those who seem completely alien to us. The timer showed that only 6 minutes had elapsed since the test began, but it was clear that the real test was just beginning. The question now wasn't whether humanity could survive against galactic apex predators, it was whether the galaxy was ready for humanity's radically different approach to interspecies relations. Commander Zexhai descended from his observation platform, his compound eyes fixed on the impossible scene before him. The 3 most dangerous predators in known galactic space were not only defeated but were actually allowing their conquerors to tend to their wounds. The Bone Crusher, which had once torn apart an entire Korthak military unit, was letting Rex support its massive head while Sarah examined its damaged leg joint.
This is not possible, the Vorthak delegate rumbled, his own massive frame trembling with confusion.
The Iron Bear does not submit to anyone. It fights until death or victory.
There is no middle ground.
Sarah looked up from her work, her hands still gently manipulating the Iron Bear's injured shoulder.
That's exactly the problem with your understanding of apex predation. You see only domination and submission, victory and defeat.
But Rex, Luna, Hannibal, and we see potential partners. She stood and walked over to the Iron Bear, which was now lying calmly while Hannibal's trunk provided gentle support for its massive frame.
Your Iron Bear isn't evil or irredeemably aggressive.
It's afraid and acting on instincts that served it well in its natural environment.
But those same instincts can be redirected toward cooperation rather than domination.
Sarah reached into her equipment belt and withdrew what appeared to be a simple metal collar, similar to the one Rex wore but sized for a much larger creature.
This isn't a control device or a weapon.
It's a translation matrix that will allow your Iron Bear to communicate with my team and, eventually, with me. The Vorthak delegate's metallic claws extended involuntarily.
You would dare to collar the Iron Bear?
It is sacred to our people, a symbol of our strength. I'm not collaring it, Sarah replied calmly.
I'm offering it a choice.
She held the collar where the Iron Bear could see it clearly, then placed it on the ground within reach of the creature's massive paws.
If it wants to continue fighting, it can ignore this and we'll continue our current relationship.
If it wants to try a different approach, it can put this on itself.
The arena fell silent except for the gentle humming of the collar's translation matrix.
The Iron Bear's small, intelligent eyes studied the device, then looked at Hannibal, who was still providing comfortable support without any sign of dominance or threat. Slowly, carefully, the Iron Bear reached out with one massive paw and touched the collar. The translation matrix activated with a soft chime, and, for the first time in galactic history, the thoughts of an Iron Bear became audible to other species.
Strange, small warm ones, not hurt Iron Bear? Iron Bear hurt, expect death pain. Instead receive, comfort touch?
Sarah smiled and reached out slowly to touch the Iron Bear's paw.
We don't want to hurt you. We want to understand you. Can you tell us why you were fighting?
The Iron Bear's electromagnetic field flickered with what the translation matrix interpreted as confusion.
Iron Bear fights because, always fight. Born fighting. Live fighting. Die fighting. Is Iron Bear way. But, what if there was a different way? Sarah asked. What if instead of fighting alone, you could fight alongside others? What if instead of fighting for dominance, you could fight to protect those you care about?
Hannibal trumpeted softly and extended his trunk toward the Iron Bear. The massive alien predator hesitated, then reached out with its own paw to touch the elephant's trunk. The contact sent a small electrical discharge between them, but, instead of pain, both creatures seemed to experience something like recognition.
Big Gray One, not afraid of Iron Bear electricity?
Hannibal has been modified to work with electrical energy, Sarah explained.
Your electricity doesn't hurt him, it makes him stronger.
And, his strength can make you safer.
Do you see how we might help each other instead of fighting each other?
Meanwhile, Luna had managed something even more remarkable with the Void Wraith. The quantum phase creature had been the most alien of the three predators, existing partially outside normal reality and communication through psychic emanations rather than traditional senses. But Luna's enhanced abilities included limited psychic sensitivity, a side effect of her quantum coherence modifications. She had been gently probing the Void Wraith's consciousness, not to dominate or control it, but to establish the basic foundations of communication.
Hunger, always hunger. The Void Wraith's thoughts came through as whispers that bypassed the ears and spoke directly to the mind. Feed on life energy, but small quantum hunter offers different energy? Luna had discovered that the Void Wraith's need for psychic energy wasn't necessarily predatory.
The creature fed on life force, yes, but it could also sustain itself on other forms of organized energy, including the quantum field fluctuations that Luna generated when she phased between dimensions. Your Void Wraith isn't a monster, Sarah called out to the Qilin delegation.
It's starving.
It feeds on psychic energy because that's the only energy source it found in your dimension. But Luna can generate quantum coherence patterns that provide the same nutritional value without harming any living being. The ethereal Qilin shimmered with what their translation indicated as shock.
The Void Wraith is nearly hungry?
But it has consumed entire telepathic colonies.
Because it was never offered an alternative, Sarah replied.
When you only know one way to survive, you use that way even if it causes suffering.
But, when someone shows you a different path. The Void Wraith had begun to phase more solidly into normal reality, drawn by the strange new energy patterns that Luna was generating.
Instead of the violent, chaotic creature that had terrorized the Qilin homeworld, it now appeared almost curious, its form stabilizing as it fed on Luna's quantum emanations.
Different, better, no death taste in this energy, clean bright good.
Rex had achieved perhaps the most impressive breakthrough with the Bone Crusher. The massive six-legged predator had been bred for war by the Korthek, its natural aggression enhanced through genetic manipulation and conditioning. But, underneath all that artificial enhancement, Rex had detected something that his training had taught him to recognize, a pack animal that had been forced into isolation. Your Bone Crusher isn't naturally a solitary hunter, Sarah explained to Commander HFY.
Rex can smell the pheromone patterns.
This creature was designed to work as part of a coordinated group, but it's been kept in isolation for so long that it's forgotten how to interact with packmates.
Rex was demonstrating this by engaging in what could only be described as play behavior with the massive predator.
He would dart in, gently nip at one of the Bone Crusher's unarmored areas, then dart away. Instead of retaliating with killing force, the Bone Crusher was beginning to respond with similar playful movements, its massive claws carefully controlled to avoid actually harming the smaller Earth predator.
Pack brother? The Bone Crusher's communication came through a series of clicks and growls that Rex somehow understood perfectly. Small pack brother teaches new hunt ways? Not hunt, Rex's response came through Sarah's translation device, which was linked to his collar. Protect. Guard. Serve pack family.
Commander HFY watched this exchange with growing agitation.
This is impossible.
The Bone Crusher is a weapon, bred for war.
It cannot simply change its nature.
It's not changing its nature, Sarah corrected.
It's expressing its true nature for the first time.
You took a pack hunter and turned it into a solitary killer.
We're just reminding it what it was meant to be. She gestured to all three alien predators, now calmly interacting with her team. This is what humanity discovered thousands of years ago on Earth. The most dangerous predators often become the most loyal partners when their basic needs are met and they're treated with respect rather than fear. The watching aliens were struggling to process what they were seeing. Their entire understanding of predator-prey relationships, of strength and dominance, of what it meant to be an apex species, was being fundamentally challenged. But, how do we know they won't revert to their predatory behavior? Asked the Chelan representative, its ethereal form flickering with uncertainty. Sarah smiled and walked to the center of the arena, positioning herself within easy striking distance of all three alien predators. Rex, Luna, and Hannibal maintained their positions but showed no signs of concern for her safety. Because, Sarah said, true partnership is based on choice, not control. Watch this. She reached into her belt and withdrew three devices, small, cylindrical objects that she placed on the ground near each of the alien predators. These are quantum beacon disruptors. If any of these creatures wants to return to its home dimension or planet, all it has to do is activate one of these devices. They'll be instantly transported back to where they came from, with no way for us to track or recapture them. The arena held its collective breath as Sarah stepped back, leaving herself completely vulnerable to three creatures that could easily kill her before any help could arrive. The Void Wraith was the first to approach its beacon. It phased partially out of reality, examined the device from multiple dimensional angles, then solidified and looked directly at Sarah. Home dimension, lonely cold, here now as pack friend and good energy, choose here now. The Iron Bear lumbered over to its beacon, sniffed it carefully, then looked at Hannibal. Big Gray One, become true pack brother? Fight together, protect together? The Bone Crusher approached its beacon last, but, instead of examining the device, it walked directly to Rex. Small pack brother, teach Bone Crusher new ways? Show pack hunt tactics? None of the three creatures activated their beacons. And that, Sarah announced to the stunned alien observers, is how humanity became the apex predator of Earth. Not by conquering other predators, but by convincing them that working together was better than fighting alone. The transformation that followed over the next several hours defied everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about interspecies relations. Sarah's team worked with the three alien predators, not to subdue them further, but to integrate them into a functioning cooperative unit. Rex took point on training the Bone Crusher in pack coordination tactics. The massive six-legged predator proved to be a remarkably quick learner once its natural pack instincts were reawakened. Within an hour, it was responding to Rex's signals and coordinating its movements with the smaller Earth predator in ways that made both of them exponentially more effective. See how the Bone Crusher positions itself to provide cover while Rex advances? Sarah pointed out to Commander HFY, who had remained in the arena to observe. And how Rex uses his speed to scout ahead and identify threats for his larger partner. They're not competing, they're complementing each other's abilities. Luna and the Void Wraith had developed an even more extraordinary partnership. The quantum phase creature had learned to generate controlled dimensional rifts that Luna could use to appear and disappear across vast distances instantaneously. In return, Luna's quantum energy emanations provided the Void Wraith with a steady, non-lethal food source that actually seemed to be improving its dimensional stability. Your Void Wraith is becoming stronger, not weaker, Sarah observed to the Chelan delegation. When it fed on psychic energy from unwilling victims, it was essentially consuming junk food, high energy but ultimately damaging to its dimensional matrix. Luna's quantum emanations are like a perfectly balanced diet. The Iron Bear and Hannibal had formed perhaps the most impressive partnership of all. The alien creature's bioelectric abilities could supercharge Hannibal's enhanced systems, while Hannibal's enormous strength and tactical intelligence gave the Iron Bear the pack support it had been craving. Together, they could generate and control electromagnetic fields on a scale that neither could achieve alone. Combined electromagnetic pulse, Sarah explained as the two massive creatures demonstrated their new abilities. Hannibal provides the raw physical power, while the Iron Bear provides the electrical control. They can disable enemy electronics across several square kilometers without causing any permanent damage. But the real test came when Sarah announced the next phase of her demonstration. Commander HFY, I'd like to request permission to make contact with the Council's emergency response fleet. The Korthak commander's mandibles clicked nervously. For what purpose? To demonstrate the ultimate application of humanity's approach to apex predation.
Your files indicate that the galaxy faces an ongoing threat from the Devourers, a species of seemingly mindless predators that consume entire planets and have resisted all attempts at communication or negotiation.
A ripple of unease went through the assembled alien observers.
The Devourers were the one threat that had united the galaxy in fear, massive, insectoid creatures that appeared from the void between stars, stripped worlds bare of all biological matter, then vanished back into deep space.
The Devourers cannot be reasoned with, the Vortak delegate growled.
They are pure hunger, pure destruction. Even we cannot stand against them in direct combat. That's because you've been approaching them as adversaries to be destroyed rather than as a species to be understood, Sarah replied.
I've studied your reports on Devourer encounters.
They don't attack randomly, there's a pattern to their behavior that suggests they're not mindless at all. She activated a holographic display that showed the galactic map with Devourer attack sites marked in red.
Look at the pattern.
They don't attack the most heavily populated worlds or the ones with the most resources. They attack worlds that are experiencing ecological collapse or biological crisis.
Commander Zexhai studied the display with growing amazement. You're suggesting they're selective? I'm suggesting they're trying to help, Sarah replied.
Every world the Devourers have attacked was already dying. The ecological collapse, the mass extinctions, the biological contamination, it was all happening before they arrived.
They're not destroying healthy worlds. They're mercy-killing worlds that are already beyond saving. The revelation hit the assembled aliens like a physical blow.
They had been fighting what they thought were mindless destroyers, when they might actually be dealing with a species that saw itself as performing a necessary ecological service.
But they consume everything, the Chilon representative protested. Entire biospheres vanish. Because they're recycling the biological matter, Sarah explained. Think about it, where does all that biomass go? The Devourers don't get bigger after each attack. They don't establish colonies on the worlds they strip. The matter has to be going somewhere.
She manipulated the holographic display to show energy patterns around Devourer ships. Your sensors pick up massive energy discharges during their operations.
What if they're not weapons, but transformation processes? What if they're converting dying biological matter into something else? Into what? Commander Zexhai asked.
Seeds, Sarah replied simply. Concentrated genetic information that can be transported to new worlds and used to restart biological evolution.
The Devourers aren't destroyers, they're gardeners on a galactic scale. The arena fell silent as the implications sank in.
If Sarah was correct, the galaxy had been at war with its own maintenance crew.
This is speculation, the Vortak delegate rumbled, but his voice lacked conviction. Then, let's test it, Sarah said.
My team and our new partners are uniquely suited for making first contact with the Devourers. We don't approach them as enemies to be fought, but as potential partners whose methods we might not understand but whose goals we might share.
Over the next several hours, Sarah's expanded team demonstrated capabilities that exceeded anything the Galactic Council had ever seen from a single unit.
Rex and the Bone Crusher could coordinate ground operations across impossible terrain.
Luna and the Void Wraith could conduct reconnaissance in dimensions that normal sensors couldn't even detect.
Hannibal and the Iron Bear could project force or provide support on a scale that rivaled capital ship weapons. But, more importantly, they demonstrated the kind of flexible, adaptive thinking that could approach an unknown situation without preconceptions. The test you designed was meant to measure our ability to survive against your apex predators, Sarah addressed the council representatives as her demonstration concluded.
But, what we've shown you today is that survival isn't the ultimate goal. Partnership is.
She gestured to the mixed group of Earth and alien predators, now working together so seamlessly that it was hard to remember they had been enemies just hours earlier.
Humanity doesn't offer the galaxy another apex predator. We offer the galaxy a different way of thinking about what apex means.
Not the strongest or the fastest or the most dangerous, but the most adaptable, the most cooperative, the most willing to find common ground with others.
Commander Zexhai looked around the arena at the unprecedented scene, predators from 4 different worlds working together as if they had been packmates for years. The Council will need to deliberate, he said finally.
This changes everything we thought we knew about interspecies relations.
Take all the time you need, Sarah replied. But, while you're deliberating, we'd like to volunteer for the next Devourer response mission.
If we're wrong about their nature, you'll have lost one small team.
If we're right.
If you're right, we'll have gained something the galaxy has never had before, Commander Zexi finished. A way to communicate with the one force we've never been able to understand. As the arena began to empty, Sarah remained with her expanded team. Rex, Luna, and Hannibal stayed close to her, but now they were joined by their new alien partners. The Bone Crusher had positioned itself where it could watch all approaches to the group. The Void Wraith flickered in and out of normal reality, scouting for threats across multiple dimensions. The Iron Bear stood ready to provide electromagnetic support or overwhelming force as needed. So, Sarah said quietly to her mixed group of Earth and alien predators, ready to show the galaxy what real apex predators can accomplish when they work together? 6 very different voices, barks, purrs, trumpets, clicks, whispers, and electrical harmonics, responded in perfect unison. They didn't speak the same language, but they all communicated the same message: they were ready. In the weeks that followed, reports began filtering back to the Galactic Council of unprecedented successes in dealing with previously impossible threats. A Devourer fleet had been contacted and, through patient communication efforts, revealed the location of 17 worlds they had identified as candidates for ecological rescue. Those worlds were evacuated in time, their populations relocated to suitable new homes, while the Devourers performed their biological recycling operations. Other crises that had seemed hopeless, rogue AI networks, dimensional parasites, stellar engineers gone mad, began to find solutions when approached not as enemies to be destroyed, but as misunderstood entities that might be willing to cooperate if their actual needs were identified and addressed. And, at the center of each success was the same pattern: a small human working alongside predators who had chosen partnership over domination, cooperation over conquest. The galaxy was learning that sometimes the deadliest predator wasn't the one with the sharpest claws or the strongest armor. Sometimes it was the one with the wisdom to turn enemies into allies and the patience to find common ground with those who seemed completely alien. Humanity had passed their test, not by proving they were the strongest apex predator, but by proving they could help other apex predators become something even more powerful, partners in building a better galaxy for everyone.